Gus, what do you think's been the key for your interior pressure? I mean, is it just that you've got DeForest and Dio really good, but it just feels like a lot of your sacks have come from inside guys lately.
Yeah, I think they've done a good job. We always talk to them about if they get a chance for one-on-ones. We got to see those interior guys do that, and Buck has been very consistently doing it. So it was good to see Dio get in there and get some action. And he's been a guy that I think we mentioned him in training camp that he was doing pretty well in training camp and extending the season. And it just so happens, it's kind of like we always say things come in bunches, and for him, it happened to show up last game.
What have you seen from Quitty off the edge in terms of his pass rush?
Quitty is, first of all, as far as what he brings to the table, he's a guy that there's a lot of trust in him. I think with him, the way he plays, his ability, his toughness, his effort, all those things are intact. So he's doing a good job getting some pressure. I know, he would like to see more, and I think they'll come. That's one of those things, the way he's working, the way he goes about it. It's one of those things that, just keep doing what you're doing, and the opportunities will come.
Games.
Gus, what do you think of the level Julian Blackman has been playing at this season? And I guess what do you attribute that to, just seeing him thrive in his new role?
Yeah, I think he's doing really, really well for us. I mean, we're putting a lot on his plate as we would at the strong safety spot. Just some disguises and ability to move them around and put them in different positions. That's what we'd like to do at that strong safety spot. And I think he's doing a really good job handling it. We kind of talk about the parameters, what we're looking for, and then allow him to put his own spin on it. And I think he's doing some really good things at that spot for us.
And then one quick follow-up, switching to a different player, Shaq Leonard. How would you assess his performance in New England, not in New England, but in Germany against New England? And also just where do you all go from here, 3 weeks into November?
Right. Well, I think, with Shaq, he's getting, the playing time has been up and down, as we know, during the season. So it's a thing that we evaluate each and every week. And, he's done some good things. I think you're seeing him more in the mix. I think in the beginning of the season, you saw him, maybe he was at times a flat defender and, doing some different things with him. And now he's more in the mix where you're seeing, now he had 7, 8 tackles. And, so I think that's the next progression that we looked at last week, was to get him more in the mix and get a good feel where he's at and where he's at this stage.
Yeah.
Gosh, you're about 3 months into the season, and you're coming off the self-evaluation time over the bye. Any change? Will there be more personnel? Will there be more schematic? How do you tweak things going forward over the last 2 months?
Sure. I think be able to take a pause and kind of look at things was good for us. I think that I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, I felt like at that New Orleans game, the explosives were creeping up on us. They were getting to be quite a few. And, if we kept at that pace, at that game, it wasn't going to be good for us as far as, keeping the points down. So I think the last couple games, we've done a much better job with that. I think that, we're playing more as a closer unit where I think that trust is being built and guys are making plays. So I think that was the big part that we saw, was the explosive plays. And then we looked at, each, situational football, the red zone, third downs, we looked at all those things. And so we've come up with some different things that we'd like to get accomplished these remaining games.
Quick follow-up. So much is out of your control, personnel-wise, injuries. Everyone knew the value of Grover Stewart in total and in the run defense. Has his absence sort of shined the light on how important he is and what his absence can mean to you guys?
It's great. I'm glad you brought his name up, because I think we all understand how important he is to our defense and what he can bring to the defense. Now, I will say this: some guys have stepped up And it may not look the same as Grover Stewart. I think, with Grove in there, it gives us some flexibility to do some different things and maybe different calls based on situations. But I don't think I think, and whenever there's a guy not playing, you don't want to miss other guys showing up, like a Dio. He's playing inside a little bit more, and then he had a pretty good game. And I think Eric Johnson has shown us what he's all about. So, you see those stories that are taking place, but yeah, I mean, everybody's going through injuries now, and it's got to be guys got to step up. But surely we miss a guy like Grover Stewart, and they're just his presence and what he brings to our whole defense.
You look forward to getting him back in 3 games, obviously.
Yeah. Anytime you get a chance to get a really good player and a really good teammate in there, it's always a good thing. So until then, we'll just keep going.
Thanks, Gus.
Thank you.
Raven.
Gus, you've been a head coach before, so you understand some of the pressures and the highs and lows that come with it. What have you seen from Shane as he's kind of grown throughout the course of his first year?
Well, I think Shane has been very consistent with his message. I think there's, a sense of strength coming from him, a strength of confidence in what this team can become. And I think he challenges this team to get to that standard each and every week. And there's no wavering. And I think he's demanding. He holds people accountable. He holds us as coaches accountable, what it needs to look like. So I've just been, very excited for, that consistency, because, the season, you're going to have some ups and downs throughout it. And if you can have that leadership be consistent in their message, I think it just aids in the team coming out of some of those tougher times and getting back on course. And he's allowed us to do that.
And how big is it for him to push you guys as well as the players to continue to be demanding? Because I'm sure as a first year head coach, I mean, it probably can be difficult to try to get the guys to rally around you and try to instill that message. So how big has it been to be able to see him kind of take the reins of that?
Well, I think here's where we're fortunate is that we do have a lot of guys that are motivated internally, where I think, they're a very prideful group. And, the leadership, yes, it's important. It comes from the head coach and it stems through the assistants, but it's a lot easier when you have internally motivated guys that really it's about, getting this team to another level, about winning and playing at a high level. And, the head coach and the coaches do it. But when you have that kind of accountability coming from the players, I think that's what makes it, that much more, great to be a part of. And usually that comes from, some elder players, like a Buck, a Kenny Moore, a Julian, a Zaire, those guys, Shaq, all those guys. So, we're fortunate to have those types of mentality.
Last question, Joel.
Going back to, limiting some of the explosives and stuff like that. Have you guys done some stuff coverage wise and change, in terms of changing up what you're doing to kind of take away some of those explosives?
Yeah, I think that it's another great question, Joel. I think that, you have your foundation, which you are, and then you have different aspects of coverage that you run. But I think that the percentage of some of the other things that we run has gone up in our self-scout when we look at it. And I think, the changing up of some things and moving some people around. And, some of that is based on how we're doing as a front. But I think, because there's confidence in the front, it gives us more flexibility to do some more things in the back end.
Is quarters, I know you probably don't want to get into a lot, but is quarters one of the things that's helped over the last couple
Yeah,
weeks?
I think that when you look at us, you're always going to have, a single high defense, a zone. You're going to have a single high man. You're going to have split safety zones. So I think, every coordinator in the league has that. It's just, how much of that do you run? And, if you can stop the run in some split safety, I mean, that gives you even more flexibility. So last game, they got some runs on us, but we played a little bit more split safety. So there was give and take.